Good evening. To all the school board February meeting to order at 6 p.m. We could please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Thank you, Jeff. Discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Under staff and student highlights. Unfortunately, our schools are not here tonight, but I know that one of their intentions was to introduce our new student resource officer. Say hello and welcome to
Questions for me? In my feet underneath me here still. It's an adjustment from having been at the barracks for. How's it going so far? Good, good, good. No complaints. It's all good.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Next up is old business. We wanted to talk a little bit about budget communication. Louis and I have drafted the liner. That should be out sometime next week, I think. Right. But besides that, just wanted to have the discussion about other ideas we had. I think they go to every president, correct?
Yes.
I'm gonna go up to the transfer station. Saturdays or the Wednesdays.
It's Wednesdays.
Wednesday, Saturday is tough with.
I think that the transfer station is definitely a good spot for you. Just make sure flyers have some more necessary right now. I feel like it's the budget. How much conversation there was in last time with folks and everything else that was sure. I feel like it's very good use of our time. I think if you have a lot of people ask. No, they just didn't know why I was there. That's the only conversation I got. Everybody will be getting the same letter.
Like I said, you guys don't have it. I'm happy.
If you'd like to.
Is there anything about the areas, especially if there are some maybe misinformation that's out there?
I was told that maybe actually that copy Albert. On side, you don't know. So you go over there. School. Just a copy of it. I didn't have any questions. Speak with that.
Based on school.
It could be school, it could be, it could be this school.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not.
I thought you said west side.
They doing.
No, on the left side.
They do. Something like. I'm doing.
You saw something up there?
I thought I did, but I think it's.
Happy to go to and or call into that select board. Watching on pay TV. Nope. But just so they know. out as well.
Copy. Try to figure out how long that's available. So that on the before. It's just two of us or less. I can do that. So, I think we can, like, for 4 hours. Okay. Friday. 6.
Darrell, if you're doing a open house. Anyway, so, right,
So I will hold a coffee hour over on west side. Or else I would touch.
I can call them. Well, whatever. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Cables, I think.
Anyone else?
I'll go hang out there.
Somewhere else. I'll join the sub board. Maybe. Station.
when are you having a coffee house?
I was going to have to. Yeah. But have another one somewhere else and
Flyers down for here for the games and stuff.
You're specific.
Our parents, yeah.
Not all the right stuff, so ready.
the record stuff continuing.
Out there.
They're doing it. Jamboree, I think that's it. City rec. We're talking parents. So.
Vacation, please. Keep it, just say. Just say we can't hear everything. I can only hear. Okay, perfect. Speak
So
up.
Mike, can you hear better now? Is my computer going? Or the speaker? Is the TV speaker? There's like a little round.
There we go. How's that, Katie?
So much better.
Okay, good. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I just realized I did skip all our teacher, staff and community comments. If anybody had any?
One thing, about the budget, when we speak to people, we should remind people that the budget is not just for the school, that it's for pre-K through. Well,
That's true.
some people get that. So, and there are signs that could go out. I don't know if that's something you're interested in. I just wanted to mention.
The ones that we've had before. Usually Sarah will put out signs out
Yeah.
in front of the school, so if anybody does want to pick up the sign, when, maybe right after break.
And we just had to be clear in the past, the signs can just say,
Vote.
remember to vote on, you cannot ever say vote yes or vote, so just with really stating a fact, just to remind that the vote is on March 5th. I do believe Sarah has signed state just that,
It's on March 4th.
March 4th. So.
Hopefully the signs say March 4th.
So,
So if you're interested in picking up a sign and you don't see any outside the building after February break, please contact Sarah Thompson. So we'll move on to the consent agenda. I'll take a motion to approve the warrants in the minutes. Thank you, Colin. On the January 14th minutes, I did have a small little grammatical typo that I did to Chris. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Right?
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Superintendent's report.
Thank you. I just have a few things. A lot of this is for your own reference tonight. I did mention this last week, but this February is the School Board Appreciation Month. And so I just wanted to publicly, on behalf of GRCSU and staff, just to thank our 5 Rutland Town Board members for all their hard work. I know that many people just see them once a month, here at a meeting or out and about, but this is it really is a job that encompasses much more than that. A lot of conversations, just a lot of, whether it be just with myself or with staff or with community members. But it is a thankless profession, and it don't really see a lot of thank you. But I just want to publicly say thank you to you for all your hard work, because it is a very difficult job. I always talk all the time, make sure you're being fiscally responsible, but also making sure that our students receive a high quality education. I do want to thank you all for, taking that on, really on a very meager stipend. So thank you. So I also just want to say, thank you to Abby and Tina, who will not be running anymore. Thank you for your service, and I wish you all the best of luck. I'm sure I'll see you. Thank you. Also in the packets, there's a copy of the calendar. This will be the last time I'll say this, but it is a reminder, because I have had people still in email. Yes, our February break is a week later next year. That is because we moved to a statewide calendar. And yes, we are aware that Rutland City Schools still have President's Day off, but GRCSU does not. So we will be in school next year on President's Day, and then we'll have the week off after. So that should be highlighted there. But so I just wanted to make that clear for everyone. So there's been still some confusion. And there is a copy of the legislative reports from the VSBA that uploaded that report resource folder for you. This is still early days in the legislative session, so there are a lot of bills that are just being proposed and thrown out there. So not a lot really to react to. Obviously the main issue, the main thing that people react to is Governor Scott's proposal around education, and we're just seeing a lot of information being thrown around. And so, as I said last week, I just ask people to be informed, stay on top of things, just listen to what's going on. But at the same time, is also we don't need to necessarily panic, because there's still a lot of details yet to be rolled out by what that means for Rutland Town, for the GRCSU, as well as for the state. So we will keep the board posted so we have updates on that. But if any community member or parent ever has any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or to Sarah, and we're happy to try to answer your questions.
Great. Principals report. The principals here. Is there anything you wanted to highlight, Chris?
No, I mean, I won't go through and read it for you. I think it's all there. I know that I did speak with Sarah, because there have been some questions around field trips. And so she is looking to plan meetings with the families about the 6th grade, 7th grade families about future trips, what that may look like. So she'll have
She has
some
it
more.
scheduled for tomorrow at 4:30.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Hopefully she'll go well.
Yes, yes. And I heard Lifetime Sports is going well. So just say thank you. And the weather has been working on its thing. Oh, I did have one more thing, because I do always get snow days. I just want to just quickly, I get complaints, I know it's just, people can get up at 4:15 in the morning, just, check the weather with me, but Snow days are, it's not as easy as people think. It's not like I've got the window and decide, I want to go back to bed and snow day. It is, talk with road crews. We look at it last week was obviously challenging because you look at the timing of the event and last week we could have probably got the kids into school, but then getting them home safely is another thing. And we always try to err on the side of caution. And I think it's if families would be upset with us because we just try to keep our staff and our students, safe, and then that's fine. But as other districts start closing around us, then staffing becomes an issue as well. And I know that there's some families saying, well, hey, could you, call the night before? Yes and no. I mean, I do get up, I do check it because, I know that staff don't like this, students like this, but I want people in school. I want kids in school, continuity. Didn't do anyone any favors, so it's great for everyone. But I do get up early and check to make sure that the roads are safe. And we get kids in, we get kids in, get staff in. But I know that there's more weather forecast for Thursday, so Thursday morning I'll be up bright and early just wait and see what happens. But I understand the conflict that it causes, the problem that causes families. They get a call at 5:15 in the morning that school's been canceled for childcare and I understand that. I'm a parent, but so we do try to make this all in consideration. But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to try to answer them as best I can. So, but it sounded like perfect science. So.
And I think it's also important to highlight that our supervisory union covers pretty wide territory.
Correct.
So in Rutland Town, it may be a very different story than in Polley. And
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's not really a way to very easily.
Correct. That's a good point, Tina, because we do make one call for the whole. So in the morning, I'm calling road crews from Rutland Town to Wells to Polley, to each one of our towns. I'm calling the road crews, and you're right that what Middletown Springs is experiencing might be significantly different than say here in Rutland Town. And so there may be some instances where we may call a snow day where it's perfectly fine here, but for someone else in our region or an SU, it's not. And we also have to think about, we do have staff coming in from other areas too. So not all of our staff live right within town too. So we may be able to get the kids in, but can we staff the building too? That's another, thing we have to take into consideration. And we knew that would be a problem as we saw other SU districts start to campus school, that regardless of whether that it's be difficult for us to staff our buildings. So it's much more than just snow on the ground sometimes.
So that's what I call it. I drive bus, bring 50, 60 kids home at that time of day. Wow, it would have been so nerve-wracking.
Right. And an early dismissal would not have helped us at all. I think.
No.
I think it's actually.
That causes more of a concern. But right call.
But like I said, I know I'm gonna make some people happy, some people will be angry. It's part and parcel of the job. I understand that. But like I said, there's just a lot of factors. And if people want to, have any questions about that, feel free to reach out and maybe try to explain the process.
So, it'll be much easier. Make that day up when it's 65 degrees out versus. Well, that's in the afternoon. That's the after 65 in the morning.
Thank you. I did have a question on the student activity account and I had two questions. One, I was curious about the expenses that are going on for the HVAC. I know Kelly had kind of gotten back to us earlier this year about they were working on making them safer or economical. I don't remember all what he was talking about, but it just seems like every month there's huge amount. So I was just curious if any of that is related to what we're also hoping to do next year, or if it's separate. That was my question. And then, but question on the activities one, which I don't see class, was the retirement part. Is that what I was curious what that comes out of?
it's.
Party.
And then my second
Uh,
question
uh,
was, my other question was, are they planning on having something similar at the end of the year? The other retired teachers.
It's all. All.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay. So I was informed that for our contract recommendations today that we do need to have a quick executive session. So I'd like to call up a brief recess so that we can have that executive session now. I'll take a motion for that. Thank you, Colin. So first thing. So you wanted to wait outside. Or you can leave.
It was nice meeting you all.
You too.
Welcome to the team. Thank you.
Being that came in late from.
Welcome back. Take a motion to approve the chart of the best prep for assistant principal. Thank you, Colin. Discussion? All in favor?
Bye.
Congratulations. Colin. Bye. Thanks, sir. Thanks. Vacancies are in your packet. You're still, I think, interviewing for school nurse and lunch director. And
Gym
just
teacher.
not, and para educator. Chair report. I don't have a lot to say, except it's been a pleasure working with you all. So one more meeting at town meeting on March 3rd. I have sent a note to Mary Ashcroft to request that we go first, given that we usually don't have a lot of audience participation. And we believe because we have a decrease this year that it will be a pretty quick conversation. So
What we're doing.
that would be in the cafeteria. Sorry, it will be actually in the library this time. Is that audience a little bit better? So we're gonna try it the town meeting library at 7 p.m. Next up, I was responsible to report last month's VSBA webinar, which was on superintendent evaluation. As part of the executive committee of the JRCSU, we have come up with an evaluation plan. So that is more consistent from year to year. And it was just approved, the rubric and were approved at our last meeting this month. Basically, what will happen is the local boards will be surveyed based on the superintendent report. Try to make it a pretty simple, straightforward survey that will capture, it'll ask yes or no questions and then ask for comments. And then that will be given to the GRCSU members from each local board to help them when they're filling out the actual rubric so that they have some feedback from the local board to use there, as well as some comments to share. And then the supervisory union board will take the evaluation in June at least this year, and then pass it on to Chris once it's all collated, and then they'll do a little reflection, see what worked, what didn't work, and go from there. In addition to surveying the local boards, the admin underneath Chris, as well as the principals, will all be surveyed as well, and parts of the group are and asked to get feedback as well. And that all that will be put together by Casio, shared with the executive committee or by the executive committee with Chris. This does kind of follow what the webinar stated was important. However, there's two things that I learned from this that maybe we could think about or the SU members could bring back to the SU board. First is that they recommend doing this at the end of like late winter, early spring. And I think the benefit of that is that if you do it in April, May, local boards, sometimes you have new members that really don't have a lot to contribute. They haven't spent a lot of time with the superintendent. If you do it at the end of their term, so January, February, then they've had most of that whole year to prepare, and just you can kind of see how things are. So it's just something to think about going forward if we want to move up the timeline a little bit. And then the other thing that it had suggested was that to make sure that the board does their self-eval as well, which is part of the new governance quality standards, district quality standards. And we had done that in the past. And so that should be kind of included around the same time that the superintendent does their evaluation. They also recommended that that there are check-ins that, throughout the year, and that has been built in as well to go over the goals that are developed after the evaluation is complete. The supervisory union sit, whether it's the executive committee or the supervisory union itself, will sit with Chris and go through goals for the following year. And that's what informs your evaluation throughout the year. Just having little check-ins, basically formative assessments. How are we doing? Where are we at? What can we do to continue moving forward? Questions on that? You're welcome. Last up on my part is the board newsletter. So we do have about, I think, 17 or 18 subscribers. I did add, welcome to the whole group. I did add all of the members. So if you want to be on, please let me know on subscribers. But going forward, I won't be the person kind of managing it. So that's something that when you do your reorganization to decide if that's going to be the chair's job or if
I don't
there's.
think there's any bylaws that you can't read the newsletter.
It's still true. Depends what the
You have such
stipend
a
is.
knack. You have such a knack.
Maybe I can help it. But I will pass on the information when I find out. Give it to, or Greg Connors, I will pass on it. So either reach out to me or to him. And I was curious if we wanted to put out any other memo before voting. I was planning to do one final to vote. Is there anything else you want me to include in the next newsletter before? Just make sure they get out the vote. The other thing I just wanted to mention too, that throughout the year, I've been putting our agenda link, a small little summary of the agenda and our meetings on Front Porch Forum. And, it doesn't cost any money, but because I'm not on the board anymore, I don't think I'm the person that's supposed to be doing it. So that might be something else just to discuss if you want to have a communication committee, or if you just want the chair to do it, or however you want to do it, but just to kind of keep up with that. Again, that's something I'd be happy to help with. It's just, it'll be a little bit more challenging because I don't get all the info all the time. It may not be an issue if I help with it, but just wanted to just to put that out there. Great. Next up, policy. We have two policies that were first reads. E17 behavioral threat assessment teams. And H4, the distribution of non-school sponsored political schools. Any discussion? I will just add that H4 is the one that we had sent back to the supervisory board to ask them to take out some wording and just make it more straightforward. And this is the updated copy. It's just as a note, it looks like there's a little bit of formatting. Some extra indents.
Yep.
C 3, 4, 6, and 7, and then on E4 and 3. I will entertain a motion
Should be 72.
to second reads. Thank you, Jeff. For discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have two upcoming meetings. The first is March 3rd. The annual meeting will be meeting here at 7 p.m. Hopefully presenting first, but I can't guarantee that at this time. The reorganizational meeting will also be in the library at 6 p.m. on March 11th. We plan to have a fast bridge update at that meeting. I would also like to add a future agenda item, even though we'll be here, just to ponder whether it's in March or April. Is just to have another update on Spanish. This is another year has gone through with kids having less Spanish than they used to have. And April 2nd is when Rutland High is coming in to talk to the students about what classes to select for next year. So all of their recommendations for what class they should be in for Spanish should be in by that date. So I think that that's probably a good time to talk about, is it still 50% are being recommended for Spanish 2, or is it lower now because they have a little bit less schooling in 6th and 7th grade too? And then just to kind of reassess, is that still what we want? Is that the way we want our students to leave Rutland Town after having Spanish instruction from kindergarten through 8th grade? Is it important to offer them something that will actually get them to Spanish?
Can I ask a question? Like, have we heard from the parents that are upset that their kids not making it into Spanish too?
I will say as a parent, my kids do not feel like they are prepared in Spanish language. And they wish they knew better. But that's just my thing.
Yeah.
I've
I'm saying,
heard
like,
from other families that it does not feel like they're not confident in Spanish whatsoever.
I just like my personal experience, both my kids just like Spanish class, but neither of them any desire. One that has no desire to think Spanish because big one's thinking wants to do a different language, maybe. So I just wasn't sure, like, keep going back and looking at Spanish. That one is the overall purpose.
I think the overall purpose is just to increase their exposure outside of it.
Yeah.
Spanish is a very common language outside of Vermont. It's, I think, the second most spoken language in the US. And it's also, right, not Vermont, but it's good to prepare kids for a global world. So.
No, I
and
know
on
what the
top of-
purpose, I know what the purpose of us teaching Spanish is. That's what I'm
On
gonna say.
top of that, colleges look for students to take 3 years of the language if possible, minimally 2. So giving them, helping the kids feel more confident before they go to high school, I think would increase the number of students that feel ready to do that, or able to do that.
Yes, but what if I take Spanish? That's pretty here, but I go to the.
You can,
It still is
You
giving
can, but
you a
you-
great basis of a different language.
but if you don't feel like you've learned a lot, you might also be bored and not want to.
I think it's cool.
I-
that-
I think it's cool that we offer it, but I also think that, a few years ago, I believe the number was closer to 75% were recommended for Spanish 2, and now it's going down to 50%. And with less and less time that they're getting in 6 and 7 and 8 overall, will that number continue going down, and is that acceptable? We could, I'm not saying every student has to be ready for Spanish 2, but shouldn't those that want to be ready for Spanish 2? We're teaching it from at least kindergarten.
Well, we're also one of the only middle schools that are being a teacher.
The grade school, not the middle school.
Oh, yeah,
I think a lot of the middle schools have
some sorts, but not like to get, not. But I'm just saying like from grade school, I got more grade school.
right. But we are teaching it from grade school all the way up, and just about half of our students are ready for Spanish. I was
Is it half that are ready for Spanish 2 or half that?
half that are
that
ready,
wanna
that are
take it?
getting recommended?
But is that
And learning a
before or
foreign
after they
language is
talk to the
also really
kids?
good for the brain too.
Is that before or after they talk to kids? Because
That's before they talk to the kids.
I've also heard that some that got recommended for Spanish 2 are not ready.
yeah, I'm just asking. I
I don't have the
don't.
history of why we I mean, I'm a big fan of language. It'd be worth looking at exploring how we
How we
decided to
deliver it.
enroll just Spanish. I mean, computer science is a major language. You should be teaching as a basis for the future. I remember back when I was in high school, we had online, kids were taking Russian. We didn't have a Russian teacher in high school, but that was an option to take it at Tech via virtual at the time. So it'd be kind of worth seeing. I don't know how we went with just Spanish. Certainly it's lab based, and it'll certainly help with if you want to go into French, if you want to go on to Japanese, or if you want to jump to Mandarin, Chinese, I'm not sure it's. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth.
Yeah. Well, let's see
Or-
what else.
I think it's definitely worth conversation.
My personal experience, and my kids only got the 3rd grade, is should we be working on deeper impactfulness that he's gotten 10 minutes here and there for the beginning of it. Should we be really more targeting that middle school age and getting them deeper immersed in
That's what I'm
the
saying.
small
the
amount they're getting?
delivery, yeah.
Because
Because there's only so much time that one person that's teaching
Yeah.
can teach. And if we're doing it over kindergarten through 8th grade, then it limits the amount of time that they're able to do it.
So that's that's what my question is like, because I think we just keep asking, well, how many people are, is there a plan? We're asking these questions, but what is the plan? Like, is the plan to eliminate Spanish altogether for Rutland? Is the plan to maybe have it only 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, so that they're getting more depth? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we should have a plan first of what we, instead of just asking.
My plan
you know,
is I would like to I would love the goal to be to increase the number of students feeling confident and being ready for Spanish two. How do you do that?
So that's what, like, so that's the question. Like, so I think that's the bigger, like, the bigger thing we should be saying is that, the pattern is that kids, we're losing the amount of kids that are ready for confident for Spanish to at the high school. So the board needs to think about how do we mitigate that to increase the time. So is that looking at maybe pre-K, K1 don't get it? And we add more time to middle school, you know?
Exactly.
So I think that's like, we have to, I think there's a plan, because I feel like I had no clue why we kept asking this question.
And-
You know
and
what
I
I'm
think
saying? Like
when we asked someone when she was here, she even said that it would be easier to teach them if she had the kids more days of a week.
yeah,
right?
so
So just looking at how to make that happen with the curriculum and making sure the kids are getting their reading time, their math time, their social studies, you know, and the flex time and everything else that makes the schedule tricky.
but I also think
But it's also
Spanish is reading. I mean,
Yeah.
you're hitting reading standards in Spanish. Like, I think we can be a little creative, but I think just asking that one question of how many people are ready, instead, I think we need to like, again, have a plan of what we want something different. And I think that's what we're looking at, is that Spanish needs, we need more time for ourselves to make Spanish. Because I know like at Rutland Middle School, we go every day, all year long. They have a 55-minute class every day. You know what I'm saying? So like here, we're only getting it what, once a week?
I think we're getting it twice a week and two about 2 times a week.
It's gotta do it at high rate. It's gotta also be for like kids that want that, or for families that want that.
Ours
I
is, yes, ours is not.
I don't want 50 extra minutes of Spanish every day for my kid, but, so there's gotta be a way to flex. I believe that we should be giving exposure to every kid. Whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's once a month going and seeing younger kids, but if we're gonna teach something here, we should have an avenue of exposure, but also a place where kids can excel, especially in a specific language. Where if you want your kid to excel in sports, you have to go to rec, they go to this, they get a little bit of exposure in broad-based physical education, but we shouldn't be saying, okay, now every kid's gonna be taking 50 minutes 3 times a week. What about computers? What about another language that it's not Spanish-based? And maybe that's the flex time. I don't know the curriculum schedule, to be honest with you, but
I know the Rutland Town has always been Spanish. And like, have another country up north. It's like, you don't teach any of that language. Go visit that country. But it never made any sense.
I just think we need to have purpose presentations, you know, so that people know that we're not looking to get rid of this bitch, but because of this competition, it's like, are we trying to axe the whole program? So just have like the purpose for asking the questions, I think would go along.
So it sounds like we have some information as to where to direct the questions and for the board going forward. But I just wanted to bring it up as an agenda. Thank you for entertaining.
yeah, that's a very important preface. Like the last conversations I've been in, it seems like the department feels like they're coming under fire. So it's like, how do I justify
Yeah.
the position versus how do we maximize what we want to do with it? Not just,
Yeah.
well, not walking into like a standoff of,
Yeah, I just don't want,
how do I keep my job?
I don't want Teresa to come in and give us like,
No, that's not
because
the-
she's like,
yeah.
oh my God, am I trying to save my job or
Exactly.
what? You know, so like,
Yeah.
just give her a purpose. Like, I just feel like that's more.
Exactly.
Teacher, staff, and community comments. Anyone? in or in the room? Executive session is needed. Chris? There,
Could you do business?
we didn't have it. Yeah, we didn't have it.
Yeah.
We skipped it. Between-
I have some.
Oh, good.
I don't want to take up too much time, but I know, then bring it to you guys at the SU board level, we brought it out for open. Obviously, we presented a really good budget this year, touching that, so. We should see, unless there's a massive overhaul, the last piece of the formula, a pretty sizable reduction in property taxes for uptown this year. We were able to build in a lot of, building upgrades that needed to happen, HVAC, we're getting rid of finally all the asbestos, with past surpluses, so. That's good for the Rutland County taxpayers. You guys should see a pretty sizable double-digit property tax decrease percentage-wise. So hopefully everyone knows that, keep perpetuating that in communities, but obviously the Department of Ed / governor came out with their proposed plan, which Chris alluded to at the beginning, that, you know, it's a lot of shock, and I don't know how many people are paying attention, obviously we are, but it's gathering all the headlines right now. Me personally, watching the VSBA, no one talked to me, but their response was just as bad as what some between, in my opinion, and just blanking that it's terrible. Obviously, the state needs a whole lot of overhaul. I'm agreeing with a lot of what Scott and Zoe were saying, but at the same point, sticking your field heels and saying it's terrible is not a good response to have. No one's really starting from the ground up at the SU level. We tasked Chris with reaching out to area SUs, soups, and maybe starting with board presidents and superintendents, so like at least, and maybe they will, maybe they won't listen to us, but we're gonna get together, start pushing information north about what we think makes sense for our communities, be it small and, you know, the county, like, or else it's gonna be dictated what happens to us, and a lot of it's gonna be coming out of Chittenden County. So now is our time to be as active, be talking about this to our public, to say, what would you like to see happen? And the blunt reality is that consolidations come. Whether we're a big community or small community, a lot of small communities are still going to be like, oh, we can fight it. Like, we need to decide how we want to deconsolidate. And it's not just going to be community against community. So, you know, I think we're doing the pragmatic thing, at least talking it countywide. But we should bring it up from our board to the SU board to the county about ideas and what we'd like to see happen. If not, it's going to look a lot like Hawaii or like what they're proposing to
So
us.
you want to put that on the next agenda?
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, you know, the soups are all talking to each other, but nobody in the department eight's calling for us to see what works at the local level. And it's a massive amount of jobs to get to this big 186, $200 million number. You cut all the admin, it's like $17 million. Do that. So where's the other 160? These buildings don't disappear. So there's a lot of money and that's affecting our kids. I think we should be leading from what we want in the classroom, but also what makes sense and bringing that forward. It's going to get probably pretty ugly. So louder talking back to the room. And you know, the SBA should be, it's a representation of us, but they have their own agenda too. So we got to kick in what we think about one town or Greater Rutland supervisor, you know, because there's a very strong chance that this board doesn't sit here 3 to 4 years. We don't have and 18 months. I mean, that's their point. But I think there's some things we could be talking about, and with consolidation, maybe it's a phase out too of like, you know, probably sees the writing on the wall. Like, you know, consolidation means less superintendents, but it's like an axe. It's 2 people, or plus the assistant supers, plus all that staff, or should be looking at a pragmatic 3-5 year approach and the consultants they have a wealth of knowledge. It's people's jobs and livelihoods. It's our economy too. Like, it's not $186 million, mostly, as we know, is salaries and jobs. So we're going to go to the private sector like Elon Musk would say. It doesn't exist. So we don't come up with our own ideas, but it's gotta start with us, but it's also got to recognize that we do need to have some sort of, and I think a lot of what we're trying to do now is that it shouldn't be one district or one city trying to lead the charge. It's really getting that. What I've seen in my life is everyone fights, small towns fight, so it's not just one person dictating what's going to happen. That's all that's happening right now. So I think we should be talking about that at every board meeting. What's going on out there? And I know we've talked over the last year about informing our legislators, but at the same point, they're representing the county, so we should be talking to the county as for sure what that is.
Communicating with our legislators that are there. So we do have some.
We do, and say anything for the ones that are there, but when they came to us over the summer, like, oh, we're on break. Well, guess what? I don't think the Zoe Sanders and the governor were on break for the last 7 months. They didn't come up with this plan first day of session. There's stuff going on all year. You can't just wait till we show up and take a look around, see which way the wind's blowing. That's what happened. That's exactly direct quote. Well,
You're excited about. 3 to 5 years, boards. We're talking 5 districts. We're talking massive overhaul of everything in the state of Vermont. I mean, just look at the education system, but look at all the rest of the stuff. It's a disaster. It's like, if we don't do something, we're going to change the direction we're heading right down the road. I mean, you look at and what they want to do, and I totally get what they're saying. 5 districts, and it's going to blow everybody's mind.
Six us nowadays, then.
But this is what they do. This is what they're doing down south. This is what they've done down south with these statewide teacher contracts. That's the only way. I know, but this is the only way that they're going to be able to overhaul this system and make it better. I know it's crazy.
we're here as a fiduciary for the taxpayer, but I'm also here to fight for my kids. We want to making education cheaper is not a hard topic. Take a look at Alabama. Take a look at Mississippi. You want to take prosper people down, but you can see the result. The average reading age in the United States of America is sixth grade. No wonder we can't decipher what's true and what's false. Like Vermonters and Rutland Counters have a long history of caring about education, and it's expensive, but there's a reason people are here putting their heart and soul into this education. But if we just want to talk about costs, it's like Jack Welch in the 90s. It's pretty easy to cut expenses by cutting people. It's not hard, but the outcome is not widgets and for-profit corporations. It's how much are we going to educate these kids to lead us in the future.
Changes are coming. Oh, if we could stop it.
Let's stop it. I don't want to stop it. We just got to. We
Well,
want to design the change versus being dictated what the change is.
and the biggest thing is I'm concerned about is what's going to happen to our facility. Everything else will, but it's like there's going to be a lot of places that can close. But if we bring chicken kids down here, well, everything's going to change massively. So.
That didn't even go up there.
One more.
Yeah.
Just
Well, so put it to Chris. I put it out to the centers. So we've come up. I think it just started last year with pre-K and busing issue. My understanding, pre-K falls under human resources or human services versus the AOE. So as it comes to particular that age student riding buses, once you get over a certain amount of kids, you need aides per amount of kid, which is obviously not sustainable for trying to control budgets. And I asked Collmore in an email this week, like, we have a huge push for this pre-K, and we have a building associated here with multiple kids that are part of multi-families. Like, how do we tackle this seemingly easy issue? Probably a bigger issue to bring pre-K under the part in the bed versus where it is now. But for the busing standard, to have families that if you have pre-K, you let these kids go in there, but I can't go on the bus. And who we bark up the tree. I know it's not, we can't fix it, but someone probably can fix it for us. In theory.
I mean, a few years ago, there were a lot of discussion around pre-K. And I know they tabled that, they went to the year off to kind of look, do a study. That part of it was they were looking to make pre-K compulsory, and one of the issues that's, as I expressed, well, how are you going to make kindergarten compulsory? Because right now kindergarten is not compulsory. And so they hadn't thought about that. And so then something else they need to consider But you're right, pre-K right now, and that was one of the things they talked about was whether we move pre-K to the AOEs, oversight direction as well, as opposed to a different set of regulations, because pre-K does have a different set of restrictions in terms of the classroom, for transportation, and it's costly. And it's, if you're looking from a resource perspective, they need individuals to monitor buses, to supervise buses. And so a lot of bus companies have said, well, we're not going to transport pre-K just because it's difficult because you're going to seatbelts, you've got other, there's just a lot of other restrictions that are placed on it. I'm not saying that's, let's say transporting students, but so it's this is part of, and I've explained this to our senators when I spoke with them, is we tend to oversimplify very complex issues here in the state of Vermont. And we think, oh, we'll just figure it out. And there you go, and we make a mess of things. And, I said, we look at just our GRCSU, here we are, 7 years still into our merger. We're still trying to figure out, what this means. And we're still working through, some kinks and some other issues. And so when we look at the large scale of consolidation, what that looks like, I have said, that I do believe it's coming. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but my concern is that we'll haphazardly just force this and move forward and our kids will end up suffering. I'm not concerned about, what happens to my position, my job, but my concern really is, what does this look like for our kids moving forward? And you talk about, I know you asked about pre-K, but pre-K is a part of that in terms of, 3 and 4 year olds. We look at, we get some of our students who come into our pre-K or to our 5th grade, and we look at test scores. We're missing out on an opportunity to really to get 3 and 4 year olds into our schools and kind of build foundational skills and to really reverse some of this learning loss that but they don't know how to do it because it is cost. And we are one of the few SUs and school districts that do offer full day pre-K 5 days a week. We only require it for 10 hours. Transportation is one thing that unfortunately we just can't we can't offer, which we'd like to, but it will shift what transfer looks like in our GRCSU. So, but once again, there are a lot of people why can't you just do this? I understand it's a lot of issues in education are very complex in the sense it's not just black and white. There's a gray area that we have to work through. So it's not just because we don't want to. It is problematic. So and we'll see what the pre-K study that the state has been working on for the past year and a half, what they come up with.
Are you done?
Stretch out. Human stuff.
It's not fair.
We have 2 hours. Shannon's a song.
Good welfare.
Yeah.
It's for us few years. Lead the charge if you made, small shifts, it's a pretty big ship to turn, so. Take every little opportunity to, keep it centered in the right direction, I think. So thanks for your efforts. You, Abby?
Yeah. You joined with me. That's completed. But thank you for your time. Thank you for your leadership. I think we've done a lot of good just in my 2 years here. I know you guys will still be involved. I guess that's the board, but it's in your nature to be there. So
I will not go in schools.
kids on the team, so I've done my my tennis course is going great. Again, the atmosphere of the school, from kids to parents to admin to staff, is just great when you walk in school. So that's always good and all that. So but again, thank you too. It's not me.
First mine's for you. Your snow day saying that you make the call. My youngest believed it was him who made the call. It was the first time ever he's done the inside out and backwards pants. And the two, my wife also did it with him because they thought it was funny. And they both got a snow day and I did not do it. And I walk in the door and he goes, probably wish you had your jammies on backwards and inside out last night. I was like, yes, I do. So you did not. He took all credit for it. He even had his sister high five up.
You have to let him know, he credit also goes blame. Pass all those.
So he was really upset Friday when he wore it inside out backwards and you did not call the day and we had explained to him it only works if there's a big snowstorm coming. So that was a little tough, but so just send the phone calls to him.
Or I'll tell Bill Wilson also. If we're school inside out as well.
Yeah, right. No.
My optometry bill got introduced in the Senate forum today. So I was pretty excited about that. That's also there. So I will be busy with that over the next few months, but I will still be around and I have appreciated my time here. To working with all of you. Chris, you've been great to work with, so thank you.
Yeah. Back to the life and sports thing. I've been driving the bus, taking the skaters. And these kids, they get off the bus, they're just like so excited. And then they get on the bus. And it's like you don't hear a peep on them. They're so tired,
Okay.
but it's such a good tired. They get out there and such, and it's like, I'm so glad we brought this back. It is something I think the kids enjoy, the staff kind of enjoys, and I really think this was a great thing to bring down, something we all should be proud of. And I remember us having a conversation back when I worked here. Well, people will be on the board together. It has been an honor. Really has. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And with that, at 7:32, 28 minutes before cutoff time.
I spent those minutes. But you're gonna have all your time.
Adjourn the meeting since we're at the end of the agenda. Thank you all.